Welcome to Investible Partnerships, where we talk to industry leaders about growing revenue-generating partnerships. I'm your host, Des Russell, and co-founder of Partner Elevate. And the daily battle for partner success is forcing channel leaders to rethink how to maximize their relevance and value so they can be a driver of partner impact. So let's jump in and find out how. Hi there, welcome to another episode of the Investible Partnerships podcast. I'm joined today by my guest, Mr. Bryan Williams, a first-time guest, but a very good friend of mine that we've kind of known each other in the industry for the last 3 or 4 years. We've gone on a couple of junkets together and everything like that. Bryan, why don't you say hello to the audience?
Thanks, Des, and good to be here. I don't know why it's taken so long for us to get together to do this recording. We've been talking about it, so look forward to chewing the fat and having a laugh throughout this session.
Absolutely. I think if there's anyone I've got chemistry with on the podcast, it's going to be you. It's absolutely going to be you.
I won't tell.
Okay, so you've started Hockey Stick Advisory about three years ago. You've come from within the industry of partnerships. Mm-hmm. Tell our audience a little bit about your history. We never learn partnerships. We land in partnerships. Yeah. So take us on a bit of a history tour.
Yeah, you're right. Like everyone ends up in partnerships, maybe from sales, marketing, customer support, or thrown in for along the way. My story in partnerships actually starts way back. Typical Aussie, headed to the UK on a backpacker dream after university, and I found myself in an outbound role, actually working in Germany, in Luxembourg, and also in the Middle East for about 3 years.
Yeah.
And those sort of days, before you had Phone or Lucia or SalesLoft, any of the sort of tools, and have a outbound script and away you go to, and through our roles working with financial advisors who would set up around the world where there was expats, where we'd earn more money, and let's go find these expats and let's look after, set up childcare planning, retirement, superannuation funds. And so I had an outbound AE role, fresh out of university, good attitude, and the dreams to earn some high commissions to keep traveling, which is what I did. But along the way, I developed some referral strategies, and I went deep into building some partnerships. And I went from success looking like making 100 phone calls a day, or booking multiple meetings, to running events, working and building relationships with and through partners, building referral strategies with existing customers, pipeline. And I nearly was able to hang up the phone. So as a result, I got that going, and I had this light bulb. I was like, holy crap, is there a better way to be able to go about it? And so that's really where I sort of got the first aha light bulb moment of partnerships. And you think those who are working in partnerships, it's either they experience that, and if they can get exec buy-in from the top down to bring partnerships to life as an enabler, there's a real underserved opportunity to really harness partnerships as a growth driver.
But I suppose you didn't know you were doing partnerships, or that was the motion that you were running. You were just doing what you thought was the A's role.
That's right. Yeah, the role was like, how do you fill diaries? How do you get all these appointments? How do you get it going? And rather than call cold lists and bang through the phones, I found another way to do it, which was really efficient. Allowed me to play more golf, travel more, and do lots of things and still be an high achiever. And I thought, this is pretty good. So, from those early days throughout my career, I've always seen partnerships as a growth driver. And I was the first time sales hire at vendor point of sale a bit over a decade ago in Melbourne. And, I grew into a senior account manager role, sales, and doing all the things. And we saw those who, no surprise, if they're using partnerships, whether we're adopting them, they're growing better businesses, they're more efficient, they're bigger accounts and stay longer. And then further along the journey, when I got to work at Xero and grow the ecosystem over about a 5-year period, we saw so many companies wanting to grow and build to the Xero API to add more value to their platform. And it was good for Xero because we didn't have to go and build all these features. However, I saw too many upcoming companies wanting to partner and just not really know how. And I thought, well, where do companies actually go to learn partnerships and market? It's, you can go do sales training, or you can bring that sales enablement in. You can do marketing degrees or post-grad marketing degrees, but where do you learn partnerships? So in lots of ways, I'm, harnessing a lot of that learned IP I've had through that sort of growth hyperscale journey of what I went through to help the next generation of upcoming companies come through about, how can they grow with and through partnerships. And that's what we do at Hockey Stick today.
Lovely, man. And so that kind of takes me to this point of, I don't know, I think someone, can't remember who it was on LinkedIn this week, said we talk about the decade of the ecosystem, and it's not the decade of the ecosystem. Everyone's trying to put a different phrase, and it's in Australia we say, it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, quacks like a duck. It is a duck.
Yeah.
So let's just call it what it is. But specifically, I wanted to understand this term partner-led growth, because I think there is a lot of nuance to that. Sure. There's a lot of confusion in the market. So you're helping up and coming startups,
scale-ups,
startups, more the scale-ups. You're talking to a CEO, and he's heard partner-led growth. He's heard partnerships.
Sure.
Can you explain what in your view is partner-led growth?
Yeah, sure. So with the lens of talking to the C-suite, the founder, the CEO, right? Partnerships aligns to the company strategy and is an accelerant cross-functionally across the board to help you get to where the company wants to go. What it's not something that's stuck over in a corner and can you fill a fire hose of customers next week, next quarter, which is, it usually starts that conversation. I've had a conversation with the director of sales who, a leadership workshop, who said to me literally, like, I want partners to fill our funnel like over next quarter. I don't really have time to talk to them. Like, can we get that going next week? Right. Yeah. It's so common. So to answer your question, when we're sort of thinking through it is, does the CEO want partnerships to fire and contribute towards lead generation and high qualified leads to be able to come through? Is it a case that they've got a churn problem and they're saying, well, if we can get some partners involved earlier in the customer cycle, they can be onboarded better and look after them. It's not as much support to it. Well, sometimes it's a case of, well, we don't want to go build these features. And so it goes back to the basic strategy principles of build, buy, partner. So depending on what the CEO's direction is and what is their North Star over the next year, the role of partnership slots in behind that. And then the North Star from it comes downstream from there.
So let's talk through some scenarios that our audience could kind of assimilate with.
Yeah, sure.
CEO, 3 years down the line, they've maybe got a Series B funding, and there's like, okay, cool, drive down customer acquisition costs, scale without adding more people. What's the first thing you're going to be doing or talking to that CEO about when it comes to partnerships?
Yeah, so what's the direction of the company over the next 3 years? Where are you seeing this growth? Do you plan to? Are you at a stage of investing for growth? You want to hiring a big sales team? Are you expanding the different geos? What does that look like? What does the bottom line cost look like? Are you looking to consolidate? What does that look like? So come back to your question before, like partnerships has got two growth drivers. The main ones I see, it's either can it help top line growth? Can we go faster with and through partners? Or can we grow through partners to protect bottom line costs, in specifically CapEx costs, so we don't have to necessarily hire a really big sales team? So we often start the conversation there, and then from downstream, you're able to work out what is the role of partnerships relevant to the company.
So you're creating an alignment there, really, at the strategy stage, right? How many drop faces do you get, or drop jaws do you get when you tell them actually how long it's actually going to take to really see that top line growth number?
Yeah, it goes in the same conversation around the alignment that, you can pull salespeople in and try and fill the funnel next week, but partnerships is built upon, growing alignment with your partners, externally and getting it going. And so they need to be on the journey with you for that 1, 2, 3 years of that you're actually building the partner capability. The way I often explain it is most companies will have a very defined sales process. You might have your BDRs, your SDRs, your account execs, your account managers. Your partnerships, for some reason, has not been ever treated the same. It's always been treated with like, oh, could we just get our partner manager in, we might know a bunch of people, the potential people we used to work with. Can we just get them to fill up the funnel, right? So that's why we come in and we build a systematic process to actually go through those motions to make them realize that there's accelerated upside to come if they stay the course and stay invested with it.
Yeah.
Because one of the things too common is very simply like, we tried partnerships. It didn't work.
Yeah.
And when you go for that alignment session and show them some benchmark and case studies, what great could look like, that you get them back on the bus.
Yeah,
but equally, you have to align and say, right, this is an investment that we're building the capability. In the same way, you don't expect to just put a salesperson on board and then say, go bring in sales next week. You're building this operational rigor.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, Partner Elevate, we see the same thing. It's this, when you're doing capability building, or you're in the world of capability building, the capability building is something that comes at there's a system behind it. Firstly, you have to have a system.
Yep.
And I love the fact that you have built and are building and scaling a system out. So first you need a system. Secondly, what we think you need is actually you need both a near-term and a long-term vision.
Yeah.
And I think that the long-term vision is really where we, even at Partner Elevate, we see leaders kind of tune out. They go, you're telling me I need to wait 2 years to completely uplift the capability in my channel. I don't have the time to do that. So I'm a massive sort of fan around people having a process and then following that process. But it's so hard to follow the process because when revenue's chasing you, you kind of just go and do anything you can to get that revenue in, and you probably destroy a lot of relationships along the way, because we all talk about partnering, trust and relationships. It's really, really key. What's the good part of partnering where trust can't be broken or shouldn't be broken? And what's that part of partnering where you should not break trust, but you should just break the relationship? Like, what are those signals?
Yeah, I think the first one is to stay away from a transactional, that mindset of like, what can you give to me immediately? And the gap which comes up usually about 2 to 4 month mark after everyone's really excited about partnerships is really validating of what is your partner value proposition. And the way we think about it is you just turn it upside down from the partner's perspective. Like right now, what is partnerships contributing towards your business? And then what are you actually contributing to someone else's business? Ongoing. And so how could you be next quarter, the next OKR for your key partners, contributing to them ongoing in a meaningful way? Because a lot of what you're saying is you're effectively validating a pilot or some green shoots and building momentum. And as you get that in, when everyone gets excited, then they're like, what else can you do to be able to do it, to get to that sort of 2-year horizon where it becomes an integral part of how you do go to market through others? So it's interesting. You made that really key point before. It's quite common about 6 months of engagement. We're sitting down with the same execs and they're like, oh, right, well, partnerships, we want them to deliver next week on this one. Because from the top down, they've probably got that pressure from the board or from investors around what partnerships can deliver. And we often have to do nearly like a reset session. It's like, hey, look, we've built this momentum, this around it. We're growing into it. We're going to keep watering it around it because it's important to stay the course because it can deliver. And we see you can, but you can't give up on it. And you have to make sure that you are building sustainable, predictable growth for others as well as yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, there's this adage of, it plagues our industry, which is quality versus quantity.
Yeah.
Do I have too many partners? Do I have too few partners?
Yeah.
What's happening? Why they're not working? I suppose the first thing is if you ask the question, do I have enough partners?
Yes.
Something's not working.
That's right.
And then the other thing is, actually, what's the mindset that you should actually be going into building your partner strategy when it comes to this view of equality over quantity and the 4,800 opinions that are all on LinkedIn.
Yeah. There's a lot out there, isn't there? Like I think like getting started going, they're all strategic partners because you've gone through emotions where you prioritize and you're choosing deliberately to work with a select few. It's not always thought that way. I'm definitely of the mindset of quality and going deep. And you picture if you had 2 to 5 partners and just getting going, like how can you and why don't you actually like just try and 10x those partnerships and get inbuilt into each other's organizations rather than try and set up partner managers to just try and recruit everyone, because you can go neat, you can go deep and narrow, or you can go broad and weak. And very commonly companies will go like, oh yeah, we've got all these partners. And you're like, well, what do they all contribute? And they're like, oh, occasionally here and now and then. And just, unless you set up for scale and you actually got a big enough team to actually service all those and nurture them and grow with you with, an advanced partner program. And I always say partner program is always building, never build. You don't just set and forget them.
Yeah.
You're just not going to bear the fruits of what the partnership it could be. You made I really like that point you made where, just around the fact that you don't actually go and just get a fire hose of partners and then suddenly think like, why aren't they delivering? It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing is that I find funny in this conversation of too many partners, too little partners, is the fact that the way I look at it is that there's actually a finite number of partners in the industry, depending on which industry you're in.
Yeah.
So for Partner Elevate, as an example, we work with technology vendors and distributors in building their downstream partner capability. And the funny thing is that there isn't a infinite number of partners. So, but the mindset is that there is this recruitment mindset of just go find another partner. And we have this conversation with leaders all the time, not to say stop recruiting, but actually start to use more data in your recruitment process to look at the blind spots.
Yeah.
Those blind spots that you don't see or you don't get to understand through a one-on-one conversation or a partner pitch meeting or a running through your partner value prop and presentation. What are some of the characteristics that you see people have blind spots about in partnerships that they don't actually see through the typical recruitment sort of process that everyone would go with today?
I reckon it's just broken by design. Go recruit more partners is either like an account executive, go sign up more logos or deals. Like success is not having ghost agreements with, a mountain of partners to start off with, right? I was chatting to HubSpot here locally last week, and for what they're looking across their solution partner network is, can the solution partners continue to deliver the amount of referrals and leads that they can to do it, or should they go and recruit more partners to fill the pipe? And it comes back to your point before, if you can build the capabilities with those who are already onboarded, they're familiar with your software, product, service, application, and go deep with them, why don't you turn them good to great rather than actually try and become this one to everything with this really wide barrel? Because I haven't seen it work too often on that aspect.
Yeah, and usually when it does work, it works for a while, and then maybe 12 months later, you just see a whole bunch of partner roles rifted because it's not working.
Yeah, and I think the other point is, which we see pretty common is, you make the mention there's not infinite amount of partners. It's worth doing the time. A lot of companies don't do this around actually going assess who is your partners. And what I mean by that, you want to go recruit these partners. Well, right now they've got existing capacity, capability, commitments to working on whatever draws the revenue for them. So if you think you're going to come in and recruit from day one, they're going to stop what they're doing, clear their diary next week, invest time, energy, and resources that you've got some promised land offering to them. You really need to come in pretty aggressive and pretty attractive. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time once again.
Yeah. Recently, I attended your webinar where you guys yourself and who the other two companies?
So we did Channel Boost, which is part of Coach Bar, and also with Microsoft. We launched the first sort of state of partnerships report across APAC, where we interviewed a bunch of leaders, because we wanted to see like what's the pulse check and where a company's sort of sitting at down here. What does that look like? And what's some of the data points that you could share around sort of where people are at, particularly in the APAC space? Yeah, some of the findings were, firstly, 2/3 of them are all actually investing more in partnerships. So that's good signs that they want to do more. And as a company, they're recognizing that they can't keep doing it alone. So that's a positive indicator. Looking across the board in terms of where they're spending time, energy, and effort, a lot of referral partnerships activated. Co-sell motions, I think, are a bit of underutilized. I think companies can do a lot more with and through each other as a white labeling. It's still not really taking off across the broad spectrum for what it can be. But it was actually the findings were the same as what you mentioned before. They struggle to find and recruit enough partners, and the partner enablement piece that they're sort of working on to try and get right. It's such a... You look at APAC and you look like APAC, APJ, and you look at this space. Yeah. So I think you and I have had this conversation before. It's like the last frontier, right? Yeah. It's like North America, EMEA. Yeah. And then you go, where can we expand to? And you go, let's go all the way to Australia, or let's go to APAC. And then you go English speaking, and you kind of start to use that playbook. And one of the things, you and I actually gave a great presentation. It was great, wasn't it? It was a fantastic presentation. You should go and watch that one in Denver. That's right. Can you remember some of the points that we were talking about around the typical motions we tend to see in APJ or APAC for partnerships, and why you should never do your partnership strategy like that? Yeah. It was a little while ago now, was it? Yeah, I can, right? I think there's two views. Like, are you expanding into APAC or expanding out of APAC, right? And I think for how things differ down here, I do see the partnership maturity level in general behind or following of what North America is, because of just a bigger market and bigger concentration around how do they show up and how do they partner. So I think there's an opportunity for companies down here to rise the tide, per se. I think when I'm seeing North American companies come down into APAC or companies from Europe, they're typically looking for land and expand, who can help them gain market traction. Is there a few loss leader, customers that they can acquire? What's always the case, however, is regional product market fit. It happens both ways. Companies come in and think, this is amazing. It worked in North America. It didn't work here. I don't know, maybe it doesn't handle GST here. Or companies going to North America, which had a dependent channel here, and then when they go to North America, it doesn't fire because the mechanics are different. Yeah. So I think regional nuances has to be carefully considered. Yeah. And then the other one for APAC is, Japan and Singapore, Hong Kong is a very different beast to how Australia and New Zealand operate as well. So, it's nice to cut up, if someone's in North America and they cut up the geography and say, it's APAC, well, you've actually got markets within there. Yeah. We did a bunch of capability assessments across APJ in the distribution channel, where we looked at 13 global distributors go to markets. And one of the interesting points that we found there is that the strategies that were being deployed were completely different in terms of magnitude. So places like which I didn't realize this, but ASEAN is a massive hardware-based partnership channel in the tech space. They lead with hardware, and services is something that they add on afterwards. Yeah. And most of the time they give the services away for free. Yeah. So when you're trying to go and build go-to-market motions in those particular regions, and you are positioning your partner strategy or the value prop around more revenue for the partner because you've got this product that unlocks X, you go to one of these ASEAN countries and you will just get
blank stares from partners because it's like we give our services away.
Yeah.
But then you go to more mature countries, like if you go to India, or even you come down to Singapore, their services absolutely controls the way partners are making money and revenue as well. So you really need to either get someone locally who there's a couple of research companies, but you really got to spend some time understanding that market before you go and invest, solidly.
Yeah, well, it comes back to that statement before, who's your partners? Like you want to, if you're launching to Sydney or up to Singapore, like what are they spending their time, energy and effort today? Where are they driving their revenue, their own leads, and where they do it? And if you come in with a completely different playbook, you won't even, it's not even worth the meeting because you're not relevant to them.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you think about what you're doing I love what you're doing at Hockey Stick right now, and kind of we've been on different journeys since that first meeting in Miami where you spilled beer on me.
That's right.
Crazy.
Yeah.
What's going on? What are you seeing in the market right now at Hockey Stick that you are thinking about? You spoke about about systematic. So what are you doing? What are you doing for your customers right now that's going to bring the systemization or systematic approach to partnerships?
Yeah, so we've been working hard behind the scenes, listening to customers, talking to previous customers and pipeline and those, and to sort of make sure we're continually validating the value that we bring to it. And we're sort of mid-flight and rolling out our new operating system where we're staying on a journey with our clients longer to make sure we bring those partnerships to life. Like we're effectively a partner-led organization through the way that we go to market ourselves, but we also want to build a flywheel. So the more successful our customers are, no surprise, it's going to drive our growth. So in terms of what we've been working on is a program and a productized service which stays working with our customers for longer to make sure that the plan that we sort of said to start off with and which we got sign off and approval of, we're actually on the journey and making sure we're bringing it to life and supporting it going forwards. Because what we found is, that when you look back to those customers you sort of work with in the first year, or you chat to them a year later and like, oh, did you do, and how's it all rolling out? It's like, oh, some might have stayed the course and they've got good results, and others might get sidetracked or come back to it and have a leadership change. So we want to be on the journey for longer. And so we're making that investment in building out solutions and services which are able to do that.
Yeah.
The other thing is you can't ignore AI, right? It's everywhere in every aspect. And, the angles of it is AI native or it's AI embedded for it, right? So when we look at the partnership lens and how we're thinking about it today is what AI-enabled tools across the board that we can provide for them to be able to reach to the objectives of what we set out to do. So what does that look like for joint value proposition? What does that look like, for tooling, for market research? So we want them to spend more time nurturing and growing relationships and bringing it to life, which is back against the company strategy. And if we can use AI as a power and a tool to support them to do that, we can all go faster.
Yeah, I think, there's a lot happening, particularly in the tech space. You look at all the PRMs, you look at all the tools that sit in that tech space around partnerships. And for me, what I find quite interesting is it's the feature. It's very much a feature thing right now, which is find the time that people don't have time. Find the part of partnership management where people don't have time to make it happen, i.e. deal registration, referrals, and everything like that. What I think people are missing, yes, there's a productivity gain there, and there's a productivity hit, and it's one thing you don't have to ask your partner to do at the end of quarter. Hey, can you please log those deal registers because, it's part of my KPI. I kind of feel like we're still not changing the foundations of what is actually needed in partnerships. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, there's so much fear mongering and hype around, we've got to be doing AI stuff and make sure we're on our homepage to do it. But it comes back to the foundations of what you said. What do we want partnerships to deliver for us? where we're going to spend our time, energy, and effort to deliver those results faster, and then what can AI to solve it, rather than the other way around. I know during my Xero era, I go around the country presenting a lot, and people always ask like, "Oh, what's the shiniest, newest tool? I want to know." And I'd be like, I would actually stand on stage and say, "I'm not telling you," and they'd all laugh and have a joke around it. And then I'd say, "Well, have you implemented the foundations? Have you got like data automation apps? So you've got a rich, robust accounting file. Have you got reporting app to be able to do it?" Well, if you haven't got those like foundational pillars done in that aspect, then I don't think anything's changed. So is partnerships working? Are the partnerships that we prioritize, are they delivering? If not, why not? How do we go deep with the current partners? So the motion still carries on. AI can help productivity and maybe go a bit faster, a few bells and whistles, but it's not jumping to that to get to the outcome of where we want to go.
Yeah, exactly. And I also have this. I also have this view that if you don't, any change that you're going to try to drive through technology is going to be very short-lived, where you don't have that focus on the fundamental side. There's a couple of guys in the industry, companies in the industry, like I love the like Greg Potney from Euler, and what they're doing around this balance of getting the foundational, making sure you've got the foundations right, but then use tooling and use technology to really just cut all the pain that we currently see with PRM tools that are there today. I've had in the last, I would say, maybe 4 months, I've had 3 conversations with founders who are building the next PRM bot. Purely looking for feedback on their value prop, feedback on the challenge that they're actually trying to solve. And before AI, people have spent millions and hundreds of millions trying to solve these particular tools. So, and the challenges that we currently see with the tools. So it's an interesting space. I mean, I love tech. And I love the way I love the way it's used, but I'm always going to go get the foundations right and make sure that whatever you build in on top of is there, because most of the time there's behaviors that sit around why these tools are rubbish.
That's right.
Why the tools aren't being used.
Yeah, and going back to like principles-led thinking, like why do we set out to go in this direction? What are we doing, and staying the course for what we're actually trying to achieve, and stay focused there. Yeah, we see the same. And I equally get hit up all the time from various vendors of if we can push or drive their motive or narrative for it. I think it's probably just the space that we play in the market to sort of attract that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, what do you see? What do you see is going to happen in the next sort of? We've only got 4 more years of the decade.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Well, what's any future thoughts that you've got on where things are heading?
Yeah, I think like obviously the role of the hyperscalers is definitely driving forwards, and you can read the reports and the analysts on that. They sort of say marketplace sales are going to continue to ramp up. Obviously, a lot of them are underpinned by AI enablement in various aspects. So there's a growth opportunity for everyone to get in and lean in to close around that. In an AI-enabled world, knowledge is free. You can just go Google anything or find out anything or get it to do it for you. People sort of forget. You can go look up Wikipedia stuff right now for what it is, or you can Google the information. Wherever it does the work for you, it still needs to be interpreted, and the information on top of that of how you interpret and how do you move forward. I think that's going to be the difference going forwards. But the foundations are still going to be the same. Like, what is working as a growth leader?
Yeah.
What do we want to achieve? What have we told our board, our investors, our company plans? How does that roll down to the executional plan of our team? How are we progressing? And then you make changes if you need to progress forward. So maybe in the way that the how we've gone to market is changing, with SEO sort of dropping off across the board. There's so much information out there, so many AI bots just running it for everyone. I think as a business, businesses are just going to keep getting sharper around how they operate, which fundamentally is a good thing.
Yeah, no, I like it. I'm definitely
there's a lot that I agree with you over there. I mean, I'm quite interested to understand from a hyperscaler's point of view, what does marketplace actually do in terms of net new? Because they're net new for them. So all the vendors we work with on marketplace, their biggest challenge is not necessarily, yes, you've got the Oktas, yes, you've got the CrowdStrikes hitting their $1 billion through marketplace, but where does, it's interesting, where would that revenue have actually gone? Was it just accelerated? It was there already. Yeah. So what of that revenue is actually net new?
Yeah.
And then where's the net new customers? Like, where's that net new customer? So I still think that while partnerships is going to continue to grow, I still think on the supply side, from the vendors and that, they're still challenged to find those net new customers, find those net new route to markets. And nothing will do that better than building a scalable, value-driven partner channel or partnerships that they can actually work with.
Yeah, that's right. But I think everyone always defaults to what's the biggest company we can work with, and they're going to give it a fire hose to customers. Like the hyperscalers, if only we got an AWS marketplace, and away we go to the moon, right? Yeah. Or the Atlassians, the Salesforce, Xeros, HubSpot. But I think there's an equally undertapped opportunity to work with what we sort of call as like the next best choice. Like, what are the companies who are just a little bit bigger than us, who have got similar appetite or a similar growth stage? They're nimble, they can make decisions fast, and they can move momentum. Like, picture if you only had 1,000 customers, but you swim upstream with someone with 2,000 or 5,000 or even 1,000, and you're going to go do a bunch of things together to be able to grow, rather than go join the marketplace and be amongst thousands around it. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but it's a consideration about where you're going to spend your resources, because are you going to get buy-in on a marketplace to try and drive that traction, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So it wouldn't be the Investible Partnerships podcast without asking my guest, how would you define an investable partnership?
Yeah, investable partnership. I'll give you one liner of that. It's you got a line of sight to the ROI. There you go.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
Yep.
That's good. Okay. So we'll go to building on it. So you can't just give me a one line answer.
Partnership, right? You've got a sales team around, this is my sales team. This is the inputs and outputs that delivered around it. So if you're looking at your partnerships as a function, if you had a bottoms up approach and you had to report back to the CEO or the board, which partners collectively are actually going to provide and produce the number to build sustainable growth.
Yeah.
So that could be 2 partners, it could be 5, it could be a whole category of it. Yeah. But to be able to demonstrate that back to the business is the key to obviously surviving in your role, thriving, getting more buy-in.
Yeah. And I love, we use the term because we coined it, so everyone has to use it.
Yeah.
But the thing around investable partnerships for me is that there actually is a science to investing in businesses that you want to grow with.
Yeah.
There is a system of investing in businesses that you want to grow with. What really, where the challenge is time that it takes to understand those signals and then go and work on building the capability around those signals. So I would much rather, if I was thinking about partnerships, which I do all the time, obviously, if I was building a partner program, I would be definitely thinking about how do I define what an investable partnership is for me? What are the traits? What are the characteristics? What are the actual either numbers that I need to see or capability that I need to see, and have that as a bit of a DNA that runs through the way we think about partnerships in whatever program, because it takes out the relationship side of things and brings it back down to data.
Yes.
It's not been done enough. And I suppose that's why organizations like us exist, because we can bring the data to that piece as well.
But that's also the opportunity for us, right? To go out and educate the market around how to build that capability and to partner with the right organizations to grow with around it, right? I think about it as, partnerships should be building on top of your existing sales motions and complement and help accelerate it as per the broader company strategy, like I said before, not just thinking that there's this, fire hose of customers coming next quarter flowing through, right?
They always come in, man. The customers are coming.
Yeah, yep. I know someone that works over there. Let's go chat to them. Like, I'm sure, can they help?
I love it. Okay, Bryan. So now we come to the end of the show, and this is where I say goodbye. And you exit. Yeah. But before we do that, I like to play a little game. It's called the Partnerships Fast Five.
Oh yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So it's very simple, and you should pass it. Okay. Everyone passes it.
Oh, we'll see.
Okay. Simply, I'm going to give you a couple of sort of statements, and I just want you to think about and say out loud, like you did at school. When teachers told you not to.
Yeah.
Is what's the first word that comes to your head when I say it? No long sentences.
One word.
So you've got it. One word.
All right. Okay.
Okay.
Right, over to you.
Okay. Cool. So first one is partnerships thrive on
collaboration.
Next one, partnerships embody
alignment.
Through partnerships, you can
win together. It's 2 words. Close.
Okay, it's close.
Get a pass.
Yeah, get a pass. Partnerships spark
innovation.
And the final one, partnerships succeed through
1 word. Succeed through. Win-wins is definitely 2 words, isn't it?
Well, you could say winning.
Yeah, winning. There we go. Yeah, winning. Yeah.
Man, excellent. Bryan, it's been so good to have you here on the show. It's taken a long time coming.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of more topics that I'd love to start to unpack. I think we've got to get you back.
Yes.
And maybe you can bring Scott from your team next time. Love to have him on the show as well. So Hockey Stick Advisory, besides being all over LinkedIn and everywhere, where can anyone who's watching, anyone who's listening, get in contact with you?
Yeah, check us out at hockeystickadvisory.com. That's the main place. Or we are active on LinkedIn, spreading a good partnership forward. There's just like you, Matt.
Lovely. Bryan, thank you so much for joining us, and really appreciate your insights and time today.
Cheers, Des. Good to be here at last.
Cheers, man. See you later. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Investible Partnerships. Subscribe wherever you listen and visit investablepartnerships.com for the transcripts of today's show.